Hey guys, and welcome to another Sasquatch Theory podcast interview. On this episode, we have Joe from Kansas, and he had a very interesting experience one night when him and his girlfriend were at a public land area doing what couples do. He described hearing this vocalization that sounded like a siren, and I've heard the same thing in my Bigfoot area. When I had my encounters, one time I was hunting in the woods and I heard this whoop that sounded like a tornado siren mixed with a sonic boom. So I do think that's what it was, and I hear a lot of reports where couples are out in the woods doing what they do and they experience Bigfoot activity. It makes me wonder if these things are spying on people, if it makes them angry, or if they want in on the action. I really don't know, but it is very interesting to hear these types of reports. And if you guys can, please support the channel by liking this podcast, subscribing to the channel, and hitting the bell notification. You guys can also support the channel by leaving a thanks donation or donating to the PayPal to help support the research. All right, guys, with all that being said, let's dive straight into Joe's Bigfoot experience from the state of Kansas. All right, Joe, welcome to Sasquatch Theory. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing very well. Thank you so much for asking. Joe, if you would, tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and your Bigfoot encounters and experiences from the very beginning, please.
Well, I'm from Johnson County, Kansas. It's just outside the Kansas City metro on the Kansas side. In the suburbs, and born and raised there in a little town called Roland Park, and come from a good family. I was in scouts growing up, went fishing with my dad a lot. My grandfather, he was from Kearney, Missouri, and he had a bunch of land there when I was young. So we used to go around and just walk all the farmers' farm ponds and fish them and catch bullfrogs and stuff, keep them as pets, when I was a kid. But so I'm pretty familiar with the outdoors, but I've never really hunted or anything. But like I said, I do like to fish and camp and hike, and with all the time I was in scouts and everything growing up, almost an Eagle Scout. But then I got out, in high school and stuff. But I'm pretty familiar with the outdoors, pretty comfortable in the outdoors, and I've heard a lot of things. But as I'll get into, I heard a sound one time that was pretty strange that I've never heard before or since. But that's about it.
Okay. I appreciate you for sharing that. If you would, tell me about your first experience or your first encounter. If you would, kind of guide me through that and put me in your shoes.
Well, I've only had one occurrence, and it's a funny story. I was young, and I had a girlfriend, and we both lived at home with our folks. So and I don't know, this might not be appropriate for for children's ears, but we used to go and out in the woods and stuff, and when we wanted to do what teenagers do, and be intimate and stuff. So that's what we were doing when I had this occurrence. And but to go back a little bit further, I had a Ford Thunderbird, and I'd gotten into a fender bender, and it got T-boned, and the passenger rear window, the whole side had been like dented in. You could almost stand in the dent, and so the window was busted out. And in order to fix this, I had clear plastic that was in strips that went across like 5 long strips, almost like you do like shingles, on like a roof. That way air could pass through and it wouldn't pull the plastic off. Because if you've ever had a window busted out on your car, it's not fun. But in extreme heat and cold, if you have duct tape or whatever, it'll just, the pressure on that plastic from the air pressure from driving will pull it right off. So I had this thick layered plastic to let air go through, and it wouldn't flap, and it wouldn't, the water would just run down off it, like shingles, and it was sturdy enough, and that's how I'd fix that window. But it was almost like driving with your window down as far as like sound. Like it was almost just like if you had your window down. I mean, any sound could penetrate right through it. So me and my girlfriend, we had the spot out at a place called Hillsdale Lake, and it was back in the woods, and it was a little dead end road, and I think it was on Army Corps land, and we would go back there at night, and we'd make out and stuff, and that's what we were doing when we had this occurrence, and it was around this time of year. It was late October, and it was probably about 10:30, 10:45 at night, and we're in the back seat. We're in the back seat of my car and everything, and we had. This is where it gets really weird. This was back around 2000, around the year 2000, and we had just finished. I mean, like we had just finished. Not 10 seconds later, I'm still looking in my girlfriend's eyes. She's looking in my eyes, and this is what we hear. It comes in kind of quiet and soft, and it sounds like a police siren off in the distance. And we could almost, it's strange because I swear we were reading each other's minds at that moment, like me and my girlfriend's minds. Like our first thought we had was, we're in trouble, somebody saw us and called the cops, and they're here or something, they're coming to get us or whatever. And then the second thought we had, which was a second later, was no, that's far off, in the distance. And then the next thought, because this sound, it started in low and quiet, and then it just went up the scale and got louder and louder and louder, so it was a whoop, but it was really, really long. I mean, it was like, probably seemed like 20 seconds, 20, 30 seconds. And it never stopped to take a breath. And the next thought we had was, after the first thought was, oh shoot, that's the police. Second thought was, no, we're okay, that's far away. The third thought was, wait, that's something different. That's a living creature, and it's standing right outside the vehicle. It's like 10 feet away. I mean, and like I said, it just went up the scale into a higher and higher octave until it kind of became a scream at the very end and then just died out. And this was before all those Sasquatch shows on TV and everything like that. And I hopped in the front seat, left my girlfriend in the back seat, and we took off out of there. And I got out of there and turned my car around real quick to just kind of see if I could see anything with my headlights. And she was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Get out of here!" And I was like, "Wait, I want to see what this was." And I didn't see nothing. It was really dark out, and we never saw it. Like I said, it was like 10 feet away. And I estimate by the sound that it made. I mean, I've heard people describe these creatures. It didn't sound like maybe an alpha male or something. It had to be probably maybe 6-7 feet. It had to have a big barrel chest to hold that much air in its lungs. So I don't know, but a little while after that, there was a show on National Geographic, and there was a guy. I don't know if you've ever seen this, Miguel. There was a guy, and he was down in the swamps, down in the bayous in Florida, and he was looking for the skunk ape, and he was saying that he was going to kill one and prove it to science, that these creatures exist. And he was making these calls. He was making these whoops. Did you ever see that show?
I think so.
Yeah, and that guy, that was the exact sound I heard. That was the first time I think that probably came out probably around like 2004, maybe 2005 or something. That was the first time I'd ever heard somebody make that sound, and it sounded almost just like on Harry and the Hendersons, when they're trying to get Harry back to the woods because the hunter's on his way to kill Harry, and he's making those police sirens to get through traffic. It sounded exactly like that, except for it didn't go down the scale, like it does in the movie. That was the only difference. So that tells me that whoever, when they made that movie, they knew something. They had to know something when they made that movie. But that was my only encounter there, whatever you want to call it. But I'm fairly certain what it was. Um, my girlfriend, I'm still friends with her to this day, but um, she swears up and down that it was, a farmer or something, but just scaring us. But I don't know. Like I said, I've heard lots of things in the woods, and this sounded like it was like a chimp, like a howler monkey is what it sounded like to me. But anyway, that was that. But I did have another encounter which was kind of strange, almost paranormal, and you had mentioned wanting to hear that story too. You want me to tell that one?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hear it.
All right. Well, this was around the same time as the Sasquatch encounter, and I was with the same girl, and we were together for quite a few years actually, and we were living together at this time. And so this is probably maybe a couple of years later, and so in the early 2000s, and we had an apartment, and we had a big bed. It was like a king size bed, and if I had to get up in the middle of the night, I wore glasses at the time, or contacts, and I wouldn't put on my glasses in the middle of the night if I had to get up and go to the bathroom. I had a really bad stigmatism. So what I would do is, I knew my way to the bathroom in the dark. I'd just go and make my way to the bathroom in the dark and sit down on the pot and you know go number one and go back to bed, so that way I didn't wake up fully, and I could go back to bed easily. And that was just a routine. So anyway, I had this. I woke up one day and went to work, and I was kind of in a fog. My brain was in a fog, and I was like, man, I had a really weird dream last night. And slowly, this dream just kept persisting in my brain, and parts of it kept coming back. And eventually it was like, wait, this happened a few days ago. This was like 3 days ago that I had this dream. But I'm starting to remember all of it. And this is exactly what happened. If it was a dream, I don't know to this day if it was or not. I tend to think it was not a dream, just because I can't remember dreams where I've been so lucid or whatever that you can remember every second and every thought you were having in the dream. I've never had that. Maybe some people have. I don't know. So this could all be in my head, but this is what happened. And I got up to go to the bathroom to go number one, and we had some the kind of blacked out curtains, from, because the bedroom window was butted up against the parking lot, so you had the lights from the apartment parking lot that would come in through the window. So we had these curtains that kept most of the light out, but it wasn't like pitch black. I mean, it was bright enough I could see without my glasses, and I could go around the bed without banging my knee or anything, and I could go to the bathroom. Anyways, I get up out of bed. I'm rounding the bed to go out of the bedroom and into the bathroom, which is right there. And in the corner of the room, just to my right, out of the periphery of my vision, there is a figure there. There is a being, and it is a dark, solid mass, about 5 feet tall, and it's wearing a cloak, a hooded cloak. I could not see any facial features, nothing. And I thought, but that was the shape of it. I could see that much even without my glasses. There was a solid figure in the corner of the room, and it was just standing there, silent, not moving a muscle. I thought it was a robber, So I instantly clenched my fists and got ready to to fight, and I uttered something, and I can't remember exactly what I uttered, but I think it was, what the, are you doing here? And I'm pretty sure that's what I said. And the second I did that, and the second it understood that I saw it, it came straight at me. I mean, it floated across the floor. It didn't step. It floated across the floor, grabbed me around my shoulders, so my arms were like pinned to my chest. And this thing was so strong. It was like stronger than, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, it was so strong, and I instantly passed out from fear. I briefly remember like a blue light kind of come up like by my feet and up my body and just like my head, and I was out, because I knew then that this thing was not a person. Kind of like the Sasquatch encounter, whatever. This thing was something paranormal. It was, I thought it was the Grim Reaper or something. I thought it was the devil coming to take me away. You know. So I that's the only time I've ever passed out from fear. Um, like I said, in Boy Scouts, we went rappelling off of cliffs, and that was, so I've been up high, and I've never passed out from fear. The Bigfoot thing was pretty scary too, but this was the scariest thing I had ever experienced in my life. And like I said, I guess I woke up the next day in bed, went to work, didn't have any memory of it. I had no memory of it for a few days, but then slowly everything started to come back. And yeah, so I've had a couple other instances where it's real hazy. It's almost like they're nightmares. Like one, this was more recent, probably a couple years ago. I kind of remember coming to, and I was in bed, and I was shaking like a chihuahua, just just shaking like a leaf on a tree. And the feeling I had was that, I was being returned, and these creatures, whatever they were, these things were leaving. And so when you have that thought, you are so worn out. You're so worn out from terror, from being terrified on a level that you can't even put into words. That you're so relieved that they are leaving, that you just pass out from exhaustion and just relief that they're gone, and you instantly go back to bed. You instantly go back to sleep. So that was, like I said, another time, and I don't know, that could all be a dream too, but that seemed awful real also. And so I don't know. I don't know what these things are. I hear they track people's, DNA and stuff over generations. So maybe they're just monitoring us for some reason. I don't know. But I listen to Heidi Hollis. You ever listen to her?
No, I never have.
She's been on Coast to Coast AM a few times with George Norrie, and she's got a couple books, and she writes about shadow people and the Hat Man, and he's another one of these shadow being type creatures. But um, she said on one of those Coast to Coast AM shows that the cloaked being, because I think, if I remember right, I think she said that she has had encounters with these things also, like in her house, and she said that these the cloaked being is the one that they send in when they're having difficulty controlling a person. You know, Either they're having difficulty controlling their movements, and they're too resistant to whatever, some form of mind control or whatever, and they're violent. Because when you have these things like that, that's the only thought going through your head, is like you're terrified, but you're also so angry, and on a level that is indescribable, that you're telling these creatures with your mind that, you better hope that this mind control works. If it doesn't, I'm going to do my best to harm you as best I can, and I think sometimes that works, because these beings, I think they're pretty frail creatures. And if you, like, I remember, kind of, I think when I was a child, I was able to move my arm, and I grabbed one of their wrists, and I dug my fingernails into its wrist, little skinny wrist, and it screamed just an ungodly scream, like just like blood curdling scream, and then ran away and hid, and then they sent in another guy that just knock you out like that. I kind of have a fragmented memory of an instance like that going. That was when I was younger, but very strange indeed.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, so like I said, I don't know. I tend to believe these people when they say they're having all these occurrences, especially the people that say they see Bigfoot stuff. I mean, just the sheer number of people that have these types of encounters, it's just, it's too much for them to all be making it up, I think. So,
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And it does sound like you encountered a shadow person, and they're evil. I consider them being a demon, and I've encountered one before in Mexico, and it's a terrifying thing. I was watching The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and all the power went out in the house, and I had to feel my way out of the house, and whenever I got out the front door, I saw this black mass. It looked like a black hole on the ground, and you could see outside in the yard because there was a dusk dawn light out there. And I was staring at that black hole like, what is that? And this figure stood up slowly out of it, like a super, like I don't know, like an evil villain, I guess, that just landed on planet Earth. Like he was crouched down and he slowly stood up, and it looked like a man.
really?
Yeah, it looked like a mannequin, and we were probably like 5 feet from each other, face to face, and it had no facial features. It was just jet black. It looked like the Silver Surfer. It was like ink black, and I mean, I felt pure terror. And I just think
Ooh, that's
that
scary.
when people encounter these shadow people, there's something wrong in their life. Like, I don't know. I feel like I don't know how to say it, but there's sinful behavior happening in your life, whether you're watching like bad TV shows, whether I don't know,
Well,
like
that could be too.
maybe you played like with a Ouija board, you contacted spirit guides, you played with a pendulum, tarot cards. It can be many things that aren't obedient to God, to say the least. I don't know. I don't know your situation. I mean, it could even be like you're intimate with your partner before marriage. Anything that's a sin can cause this stuff to happen. I'm not trying to call you out or anything. I'm just saying that there.
No, I definitely had my share of problems when
Yeah,
I was younger.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
and I'm
So
not.
I thought about that too. It could have been. It could have been. I don't know what it was. I don't. But like I said, this thing, when I saw it, I mean it. I know. I kind of heard what you explained what you saw, but um, did what you see? Did it look like a solid being? Like if you were to reach out and try to punch it, like you'd hit something solid? Because
Yeah,
I mean that's what I saw. It was like, it wasn't wispy or smoke or a shadow. I mean, it had form and mass to it. You know what I mean?
yeah. It wasn't like smoky or see through. This was a solid 3D being, and it looked like a mannequin that you'd see like at the mall. Instead of it being like a white cream color, it was just like a jet black ink looking
Ew, that's
color.
creepy.
Yeah, it was very creepy, and it was probably like 6 feet tall, give or take. It was a big person, and I couldn't face it. Like I took off running because fight or flight kicked in, and I was
Really?
like, yeah, man, I can't do this. I took off
So
running
you
like.
don't so you don't know what happened to it? Like, did you look back? Did it just disappear? Or
No, I never looked back. I just took off running like I had little kid legs. Just boom, I was gone. And I ran next door because we had another house over there. and I ran across the street, and my family was sitting there drinking tea and talking like they usually do whenever it's nighttime. And I told them I didn't want to say that there's a demon over there. I just saw like whatever it was that I saw. I said somebody's breaking into the house. Like there's somebody over there. I saw someone in the yard, and I just wanted them to go and investigate the area so they could see what I saw. But it was gone whenever we went back, and
Wow.
I didn't want to
Yeah.
tell them what I saw.
Yeah, I definitely believe what you saw. I believe what you say,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I think that, yeah, I think that a lot of things, they can be demonic. I I know that, a lot of these people that say that they experience like abduction type scenarios,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of parallels with evil entities and demons and stuff. Like there's a sexual connotation to them and things of that nature. So a lot of times people try and bridge that gap between, alien and demon. And I really don't know the difference, if there is one. Maybe they're the same, maybe they're separate. I really don't know. But I also listened to a guy one time, and he said that sometimes when these things happen, it's this guy was he wrote a book on witchcraft. He said they call it the witch father, the father of all witches. It's Black John, and it's actually like an invitation for a person to delve into witchcraft, to discover their latent abilities, that they might have, which I didn't really do. I just heard that recently, actually. But um I never really got into witchcraft or anything. I like scary movies and stuff like that, but like I said, I am a sinner, I'm not a saint by any means.
Yeah, we all
But
do, so don't feel isolated. I'm just trying to gather more information so I can better understand my experiences and help other people out. Now, did you and your
right.
ex-girlfriend ever contact a medium or a spirit guide or a fortune teller, play with tarot cards, witchcraft, a pendulum, anything like that?
She might have messed with the Ouija board before she had gotten with me. She was from a family of all girls, so she had two older sisters, or actually, she was a twin, and she had three older sisters. So there was five girls, and I think a couple of the older ones and her, they might have messed around with the Ouija board maybe a
Mm.
couple times, but that was before I was with her. And
Yeah, and whenever you were having these experiences in that house, were you and her having conflict? Like, was there like tension? You guys are fighting, stuff like that?
oh, I'm sure there probably was. I mean, we had a pretty rocky relationship. We were both really young,
Hmm.
but yeah, I'm sure that we had our share of arguments like any couple does. But
Yeah, it's hard to
yeah,
pinpoint exactly why somebody's having these experiences. It could be due to negative energy, and it's feeding off of both of your fears, anxieties, and
yeah.
the conflict that's going on.
Now, there's a couple of interesting things about the Bigfoot story too. Um, this spot that I had picked out, it was a spot close to where we went camping, because like I said, I'd done a lot of fishing, and we had also gone camping out there as a scout troop on a guy's property who had an open hay barn, and we camped out all around there in the middle of winter, when there was 3 inches of snow on the ground and everything like that. But we'd gone out there a couple times, and we'd gone on some hikes around there, and so it's kind of how I knew about this spot. Anyway, on one of these hikes, we found a deer, and it was probably coyotes. I don't know, but all that was left was the legs of the deer and just fur everywhere. Like somebody plucked all the feathers off a chicken. I don't know if I don't know if coyotes pulled the hair off a deer, or maybe it was a Sasquatch. I don't really know. But like I said, all that we found was a bunch of hair and the legs. That was like it. Maybe a hunter. Maybe a hunter got one. I don't know. And then another time we found it was either a coyote or a dog that had been all chewed up and eaten, and all that was left was, the skull and the rib cage. So I took my little camp hatchet, and this is on the scout trip too, and I chopped the skull off, and I took it home and buried it, and let it sit a year, and then I bleached it, and I had a pretty cool animal skull after that for a while. But we'd found lots of little bones around the hay barn and stuff like that, all kinds of weird things. So now that area is all homes and stuff now, but this was back in the day. So yeah,
Yeah.
and there's even a couple ponds way back in the woods there that are separate from the lake,
Hmm.
that are back up in the woods. It must be spring fed, because I mean they are crystal clear. So maybe the thing didn't like that we were, close to its watering hole or something like that. Because there's no cows that use those ponds or anything like that. They're like in the middle of some fields, but they got woods all around it. So like you wouldn't know that there was a pond there, and they're pretty well hidden. And I don't think a lot of people go there. And yeah, so it was strange, because that creature, whatever it was, it it waited it waited for us to finish doing what we were doing. And then I don't know if it was just like saying it was time for us to leave, or maybe it was it was jealous and it wanted some loving or something. I don't know. Maybe it I don't know, but it waited for us to finish what we were doing, and then told us it was time to leave. It was just a strange deal.
Yeah, it was letting you know that it was watching the whole time, and
Yeah,
this would be an
and it was
area.
close.
Yeah, this would be an area that Bigfoot would hang out at. It sounds like you're on a dead end road at the very end. Was there a river or a creek nearby?
Well, there's a lake. It's a state lake.
Hmm.
You know.
Okay. Yeah, so it
Yeah.
sounds like Bigfoot activity, and it kind of sounds like you were describing like the siren sound, like, well, that's what you said.
Yeah.
It sounded like a police siren, but like a lot of people
Yeah.
mention that it sounds like a tornado siren, or
Yeah.
I don't know, like,
Or a fire engine.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, it's hard to say if the
Yeah.
creature was offended or it was just trying to scare you guys off the area. And you're not the first person to mention this. I've interviewed several folks that said they were in an area with their girlfriend doing stuff, and the Sasquatch just became very territorial. It was one guy mentioned that he was with his girlfriend at a place called Little Indian Creek in Missouri, and they were doing stuff, and the creature started hollering, and it was throwing like trees with the roots and all at them. And then when they went to go check it out, they found tracks, and they said the tracks just kind of ended. Like he couldn't believe like how the creature could have just
Just
disappeared.
disappeared.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear a lot of stories like that too. It's very strange. Yeah. I go down there. I texted you when I texted you. I do like I said, I don't hunt, but I do a lot of shooting. And my coworker, he's a member of an NRA shooting club in Marshall, Missouri. You know where that's at?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a place called Bucksnort, and so we normally go down there every year. But I was hoping to go down there this fall and be down there, and we go around all the woods, because we got the whole range to ourselves basically, because there's no competitions going on at that time or anything, and so we're the only ones there. So we'll take a Kubota down there, and we'll clean brush out of the woods and stuff, and have campfires and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not too far from you, but I wish I was down there right now.
Yeah. It sounds like a good area. And can you think of any other experiences or strange occurrences that you've had in your life?
No, not really, not really. I no ghosts or anything like that. I've never seen any UFOs. Still waiting to see a UFO. I don't know, maybe someday, but
Okay.
that's about it. But these things, it's I think they're so good at I think they're so good at wiping people's memories, that most people don't even know that these things are going on. Because like what happens at first is, you wake up because you hear a sound, and you hear rustling around, and then you instantly know they're there, and you start trembling, you start shaking, and you can't move, and you know it's about to happen, and then that's it. that's all you remember. Everything goes dark.
Mhm.
And so I think that, a lot of people, I think a lot of people might be experiencing the same type of thing that I'm experiencing, where like they might not even really know if this is taking place or not, or if it's all in their head, or maybe like I said, they don't even have any idea. So I don't know. Hopefully it helps somebody.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. And with all these experiences that you had, what is your conclusion on the activity? Do you think it's tied in somehow? Because when people talk about Bigfoot, a lot of people mention, they're demons. And then whenever people talk about shadow people or paranormal activity, they say it's all demons. And then when people talk about these alien encounters, they say it's demon activity. What do you think personally? You've had some strange
Well,
experiences, and I know you've wondered about this for a long time. Like, what was that? What do you think it is, and do you think it's tied in together?
well, I am a Christian. I was raised Christian, been a Christian all my life, and that's really a difficult question to answer, because it can kind of test one's faith a little bit, And I don't like to test my faith all that much, but I do think, if God created us, He can. I think God is all powerful. He can create whatever He wants, and if He wants to create other races out there on other planets, then He has the will to do so. So I'm not one to say what exists and what doesn't exist in all of God's creation. I have no idea. Now, I do think that a lot of these people that say that Bigfoot are interdimensional, I do think there's something to that. There a lot of times when people say they have encounters, then they're in the same areas, where there's Indian myths and lore and burial mounds, and there's lights, there's spook lights in the trees, and UFO activity, and some people even say they see these things, you know, going in and out of UFOs, and people will say that these things will step from behind a tree that is too skinny for a Bigfoot to hide behind. You're talking like a 5-inch sapling, and a Bigfoot will peek out from behind it, and then go back behind it like he's going into nothing. I've heard a lot of stories like that. So I do think they have the ability to do that. You know, I don't know how, but I think there is some type of link between uh, UFOs and Bigfoot activity. Maybe they are remnants of the Nephilim. You know, maybe they helped build the pyramids or mine for gold. I don't have any idea. But um, when when people did, I can't remember her name, um, but she did a DNA test on Sasquatch, and she did you hear about that when they analyzed all the mitochondrial DNA?
Yeah, the
They said
Melba
that,
Ketchum study.
yeah, the male counterpart was an unknown pre-human progenitor, and the female counterpart was human. So if they're real, then that means that there is an undiscovered pre-human progenitor out there that mated with uh, female human and created Sasquatch. So maybe that unknown progenitor is from the stars. I don't know. Who
Yeah,
knows?
it sounds similar to what it talks about in the Bible, where angels bred with human women and created a race of giants.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And a lot of stories, what you hear is people say they look like men. They look like giant, hairy men. If you listen to the David Pilates stuff, he's got that new book out, and the majority of the cases in there they describe giant, hairy men. Not primate looking creatures.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I feel like we're given wisdom and discernment through God, and we try to wonder what is this, and we never really get a solid scientific answer, but everyone's conclusion seems to be the same. And I don't think everyone's just copying each other like, oh, they're Nephilim. Like, I think people really think hard about this, like, what is this? And they think back to the Bible, like, about the angels breeding with human women and creating a race of giants and, defiling the animals that live on this planet. And I think that could be true. I mean, a lot of this is kind of like, I don't know, like faith. Like you just kind of have to guess. Like what do you
Right.
think it is pretty much what the universe is asking you. Like what do you think it is? And we're never
Right.
really going to get a solid answer. So you just kind of have to go with your gut feeling on this. And it's unusual that people can't just go out there and hunt these things and bring in a Sasquatch creature. And whenever people try to prove the subject, it's just really hard to bring real solid evidence forth. And
Right. It's almost like there's got to be some kind of paranormal tinge to it, you know. All you really need to know is if you're going out in the woods, be aware of your surroundings. Don't go out there looking to, bag one of these creatures. And but like I said, don't go out there totally unaware. Make sure that you have protection or you're with other people. You know, just be aware of your surroundings and be safe. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's the
Because
main thing.
there are things out there. You know, I haven't ever had any dogman type encounters, but that's really my next thing that I really kind of want to experience is I'd like to see a dog man, you know. And I've got guns and everything. I wouldn't shoot one, but unless I was attacked, you know. But a lot of times people say that if a dog man sees a gun, then they become, rather aggressive. So I don't even know if I would do that. I would preferably be with somebody, but I'd like to see a dog man someday.
Yeah. Well, be careful what you wish for. You might see one. And, a lot of people try to say that Bigfoot isn't real. These things aren't really out there. And a lot of people have seen these things. And it's almost the same way when science tries to disprove God. Like they can't prove that God doesn't exist, but they also can't prove that he does. And
Right.
it's a faith thing. Like a lot of people have had experiences with God or angels or whatever it may be, or even like demons and stuff. You can't really prove it, but it exists if you experienced it. And it's just one of those things that people can't just say, oh, Bigfoot doesn't exist, because they can't prove that he doesn't exist. But it's also been hard to prove
Right.
that they do. I mean, people have found tracks, there's DNA, there's photos, there's videos, and it doesn't seem to be enough.
Yeah. Yeah. It's never enough.
No, it's not. And
That Melba Ketchum, she had like hair and teeth and toenails and skin from all over the world, you know,
mhm.
and apparently that's not enough. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the best I can do is just share these encounters and bring awareness to the subject. And whether it's good or evil, I feel like it's important for people to know that these things are really out there, because people go camping, people go missing all the time, people let their kids
Yeah.
play out in the outdoors, and, people
Yeah.
hunt out in the forest and they're never seen again, or they walk trails and they just disappear. So I think it's important for people to know whether these things are good or evil. They're out there, and it's good to share encounters and experiences. Even if you just heard a vocalization, it adds a piece to the puzzle.
Yeah. Looking back when I was in scouts, we'd play like capture the flag or hide and seek, and I'd be 400 yards in the woods. No one would ever find me, I thought I was so good at hiding, but I was off the map, but looking back now at what I hear is out there, I'm like, man, I'm glad nothing ever happened to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to go swimming in the ocean at nighttime, and
Ooh,
yeah,
yeah,
people would
that's not
said,
good.
yeah, don't do that. There's sharks out there, and it's the same way with Sasquatch. Just because you don't see a shark doesn't mean he's not right there next to you.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. I've
Yeah,
seen too many I've seen too many Facebook shorts about sharks to go swimming in the ocean.
yeah, yeah. It's creepy because there's people out there swimming all over the place, having a good time, and there's like a drone above the water, and you can just see all these sharks all around the people, and they have no idea that they're there.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Joe. Well, I really appreciate you for sharing your experiences with me here on Sasquatch Theory, and you did an excellent job.
Well, thanks, Miguel. It was a pleasure, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you encounter anything else in the future, especially a dog man, reach back out to me, man. I'd like
Oh,
to
I
hear about
definitely
it.
will. I definitely will. And like I said, I plan to be in Bucksnort hopefully this spring, and I'm gonna get me a. My plan is to get some night vision, but I think I'm gonna get a thermal first because the thermals are getting better all the time, and they're a little bit more affordable than the night vision. So I'm gonna get me a couple of those just to look at the deer and stuff, because out at that range there's deer that go out on the range every night, and it's just fun to kind of watch them. So that's my plan, and I'm gonna let you know if I see anything. But if you ever want anybody to go out with you, if you want to go anywhere, and just let me know. I'm just a few hours away. I'm always down for camping. So yeah, just shoot me a text or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good, man. And it was an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. And if you need anything else, feel free to reach out.
All right, you too, sir. Take care, Miguel.
All right. Take care, man.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, Joe, thank you very much for sharing your Bigfoot experience and your paranormal encounters with me. It certainly does sound like this creature was watching you and your girlfriend when you guys were doing your thing. And that's a creepy thought, to know that you're out there being watched. You go out into the middle of nowhere to escape people and to have your own privacy, only to find out that some type of unknown creature was watching you. And it certainly let you know that it was there, because it seemed to be territorial and upset with what you were doing. But I don't really know. Maybe people having intercourse gets these things riled up, and it raises their testosterone levels and causes them to be very agitated. And like I said earlier, maybe they want in on the action. We hear a lot of stories where they kidnap people, but it's really hard to say. But anyways, I appreciate everyone for listening. If you guys can, share your Bigfoot encounter with me. And until the next one, take care and be safe out in the forest.